Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senior Vice President for Global Design, Nissan Motor Corporation, Alfonso Albaisa, and Nissan Program Design Director, Giovanni Arroba.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for coming because we're experimenting with some new things here. As you know, in a motor show, usually it's some executives reading teleprompters, and then the journalists go from thing to thing. But we thought, since we have a lot of things we want to talk about, it'd be a great chance to invite you, see if you come, and we give a tour of the car that we're so proud of. And I can give you a tour of Giovanni Arroba, which I'm very proud of. He's been in the company almost 20 years and super talented. He's been the author of many, many, many spectacular cars, from the Titan to 2 generations of Maximas and stuff like that. And now he's leading us on this road to electrification for the Nissan brand. So when you get a chance to talk to him, he has a lot of information which he's going to say nothing about. But thanks, Gio, for coming.
Thanks, Alfonso. Whoop.
It's just the first setback.
System on the ground. Okay.
Thank you. So, Gio, let's start this with, because this is your baby.
Yep.
Is when you were thinking about the new platform and everything that we have, what was the thing that excited you, worried you, or any of that when you were bringing this up?
Well, if you say worried me, maybe, when we were starting off creating a kind of a sleek performance sedan, but of course we also starting off with that kind of flat battery floor, which I kind of think of it as a kind of a magic carpet floating off the ground. So then we raised basically this sleek silhouetted sports sedan into that new position. So it creates it's a little bit of a crossover, it's a little bit of a sedan, but it's something new.
I mean, later, because of course I've been on their journey with you. The sedan has this sense of being very personal,
Yep.
very connected to the driving experience. And then an EV, of course, the power is instant. Obviously, you had a lot of fun in really giving this image of performance, and I want to drive it. But I do think that the twist that you brought is that when you made the wheels and tires larger and you elevated it, you get this kind of capsule feeling. And you weren't born in the 80s, but you're a child of the 80s. I know that there is a lot of space as an influence for you. Are you comfortable sharing some of that?
Yeah, I think in a way I feel like that kind of space and dreaming of big adventures, or going back to Mars, going back to the moon, or going to Mars, these types of space is cool again. A little bit of like the mid-century feeling, that drive of optimistic future, I feel is back for EVs, for autonomy, for the next generation of cars and the stuff that we're working on. So
shall we take a look at some of the things? One of the challenges you had, of course, is this is a pure EV, so we don't have a grille.
Yeah.
So how to show the character of the car, in a way that...
the keywords that we're playing a lot around for this kind of future EV form language is sleek, sexy, seamless. We wanted it to be sleek, sheer, aerodynamic forms with a sexy, confident in its proportions attitude, and seamless with precision Japanese quality.
Yeah.
So a lot of these, the lamp, the light blade, it doesn't have a grille, but now we have these 2 V-motion light blades kind of encapsulating the front, showing where the grille used to be, but really it's showing where the electric engine is now. But this kind of stretch, tension, and pull form language, we wanted to create something very sleek and seamless, but still there's a lot of plan view motion and a lot of movement.
That's very cool.
To keep it exciting.
And you mentioned Japanese craftsmanship, but I think for the audience to know that for us, Japanese craftsman is also a Japanese aesthetic.
Yep.
And Gio and Tyson, Gio's boss, Tyson is Japanese, but actually the next steps on electrification and how much DNA, it's really interesting because the body itself is maybe not necessarily Japanese in DNA, but as you get closer, you start seeing all these textures that everyone should see in the crystal, that really celebrate the...
So we were very much inspired by creating this mixture of Japanese DNA and bring it into the future. It was kind of timeless Japanese futurism. I mean, we used some of the traditional Japanese crafts like kiriko, the glass cutting,
Yes.
or kumiki, the wood patterns. But in the interior, I can show you later, we made a much more three-dimensional, 3D printed expression of that. And also we used inden, which is kind of the printing on leather, crafted Japanese. So we have some of that element on the seats as well.
And something which I also love that you started, I mean, I love the front, I love all these little details, but the use of copper and its meaning in an electric car, if you can help explain that.
Well, we wanted to create this, I think the black and the copper gold and the stealth kind of a satin body color, I mean, it gives it that very stealthy kind of a jet, but also the copper is a conductor of electricity, so it does play with the whole electrification and the theme, but we wanted a very solid kind of body block and a very kind of light architectural upper, so it's really, you feel this kind of glass dome that kind of weaves into the tail lamps, under the hood and into the lamps, but just highlighted with that kind of gold copper highlight.
In the audience, can we have a gentleman that's controlling. Can we go to autonomous mode so people can see the blue shade? So another feature that's happening here is Giovanni and the team were working on aerodynamics a lot. So even though this is a sedan and it looks like it has a little deck, actually the glass comes down and through. I can kind of touch here. You can see this a little bit later. Maybe the car can spin for the audience to see. The rear can come around. Well, what were you thinking on that, Gio? I noticed the texture is also...
we wanted to make the car integrate the aerodynamic details. I mean, the car is framed by these fins on the four corners, but those fins integrate the kind of the air curtains that bring the air around the corner and out of the wheel well, through the rocker, from the rear wheel arch out into the rear. And as well, the windshield blends into the tail lamp. So you also have a wing that can rise for aerodynamics.
And the thing I love also about this one is that, as Gio mentioned, that these lines help define a kind of box in plan view. But actually the upper, the way it tapers in, it has quite an aerodynamic silhouette in rear view, which is super attractive. Anything else? These are the mirrors I can see. We have...
Everything is seamless, so touch door handles and the hidden cameras that pop out and the hidden wipers.
So part of when Gio mentions things like seamless, maybe you're getting the impression that Nissan is going to a very simplified aesthetic. But actually for us, simplification on its own is less meaningful than a Japanese word that is M-A, which is the mastery of the empty space. So for us, when we make something clean, the things that we elect to put in have greater meaning because they occupy the void. So some of these things, like the little detail that Gio's mentioning on the side mirror, the textures that you see in the glass, they become elevated in importance. So I think that's very cool. And I'm wondering now we can talk about the process that we used, because you were running, of course, the program from Japan. Gio lives in Japan, but he's also, as a director, he's managing the work in our 8 studios, and in this case, California. Shall we take a walk?
Let's go to the VR.
So what we are using a lot nowadays is virtual reality. And we brought this kind of a station so you can basically see how we connect with all of our studios. In the old days, you know, of course, we get on an airplane and when we visit the studio, which is spectacular, of course, to go to Southern California. But now what we're able to do live is to bring all of the data in, and daily, weekly, we can review the material. So let's see what we're looking at here. So I think you are going to see what I'm seeing.
So of course, we have the model here with us today, But usually when we're using this VR system, we don't have the model yet, and it's a great way for us to be able to evaluate the design changes going on.
The ability to open the door.
One-to-one, and really feel the space one-to-one. And, you know, it's exciting. I mean, with the VR, we can be anywhere we want. We can be on the moon, or we can be in Alfonso's hometown, Miami.
Gio's always concerned about my retirement, so he likes to put the car in a place where he sees me going to very soon. Not a bad place. Thank God that you put me in Miami. One of the things I want to share with you is the level of detail. So what we are able to do in VR, that even if I'm at my desk, I can come right up on everything and I can see great detail. And in the California studio, they're following the blue arrow live, and they can see that, oh, okay, I love this. Can we consider a sharper or rounder or anything else? And that also we can go inside. Oops, sorry. This is the part where I start begging for help. That I can get in. I mean, it's less awkward when I do it in the studio, but I can get into great detail and look what's going on, and we can start looking conceptually at things like the premier seat of this interior.
I think right now, since we have the model here, maybe it's a good opportunity to go through the interior on the model, but afterwards, please feel free to come and actually experience the VR, because I think you really have to experience to see what it feels like here rather than on the screen.
Rather than, in Miami. So let's go. Gio, you want to get the front door? I get the back door. You go first.
I can find it. Oh, oh.
This is where music would be helpful.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Look at it.
Thank you, Alfonso.
Sure, my pleasure.
I think on the interior really shows the benefits of this flat floor battery. So we'll basically eliminate some of the inessential things that we won't need in an EV. I mean, we got rid of the drive shaft tunnel. We actually got rid of the center consoles. You have all the controls you need on the driver's seat. But this flat floor, moving the HVAC into the engine room, really opens up and creates a new EV space. And it really is space. So we created a kind of a unique 3+2 seating arrangement. Since we don't have that center console, Alfonso, you can sit in the back and stretch your legs out and really feel.
So before I get in, because you're managing all the EVs, and I know that we can't talk specifics because we're not in a private room. Would you say that this, I mean, I guess I'm not asking a question. I could say that this kind of philosophy of the management of the batteries and the management of the components are some of the things we're taking quite seriously for the future, even though some aspects of the car are not for production. But one of the learnings, as Gio was mentioning, when we go into autonomous mode, the seats are able to pivot about 10 degrees, and it creates a kind of, you're kind of looking at each other, it creates a social envelope. But one of the wonderful learnings about this project was what we discovered inside. Because when the seats, when you don't have a tunnel, and when you have all this space, actually you can get quite comfortable. And then Gio and the team found that if we break up the back seat in a different way, that actually you create this amazing 3-seat configuration. So
you can still have the capability of a 5-seat sedan. We just put the focus on the center seat. As you really, it's a duality to this concept. I mean, it is a driver's sports sedan, but it's also projecting a future image where you can really, in autonomous mode, just sit in the back and enjoy the ride. So you can enjoy the drive and you can enjoy the ride. So it's like stepping into a movie theater and experiencing something new. I think the future of mobility has the opportunity to, bringing it into the realm of entertainment, to really enjoy the autonomous ride as a thrill.
And one of the interesting things about Gio's job is that, okay, some cars have a maturity in the United States, so we think of a kind of super sexy four-seater sports kind of sedan. You don't theoretically need the importance of the back seat. But the reality is in China, we sell 1.5 million cars, and the meaning of sedan in China is quite different. And a sexy car, to have a sexy sedan like this, that actually affords this amazing level of space and comfort for the back seat, I do think this is a great job on your part. So,
But of course, this is still a driver's car. I'm going to get in.
You're coming in? Good.
Oh. This is still a driver's car. So we've created a very driver-centric HMI, GUI display. I mean, we have a...
Can we come out of autonomous? So let's see if Gio gets trapped by the... Let's come out of autonomous mode. There we go.
There we go.
Seats pivot. I no longer can speak to Gio. He's not looking at me anymore.
So it really becomes a jet fighter cockpit. So, I mean, we have a clear floating segment display showing all the vital car information. And then behind it, playing with the movement, we have all the information from the outside, the sensoring. And then you have a very engaging kind of a display. Of course, we have all our entertainment and media on the right. And especially for you, you can watch you can have a clear view of the screen. And then we have our rear view CMS monitors for the rear view mirrors on either end.
I love the layered thing that you have going with the meter area. You have a clear lens with some digital data, and then you have a normal TFT behind it. What were you trying to get at with that?
I mean, this is really inspired by some of the jet fighter information displays where you have, the technical data up close, and then you have the information of the movement and the navi and the sensoring around the vehicle. And of course, we wanted to put in an F1 type steering wheel, so chopped top and bottom. So you can short throw, but full turn. But you always have a commanding view of the screen and the road. You never have to worry about peeking through there. It's very open and engaging, I think, driving experience.
Now, they're going to kick us off stage very quickly here, but one of the things that I think is so cool is this 3D printed kind of Japanese structure in the instrument panel.
So that was inspired by kumiki, which is a kind of a traditional Japanese wooden kind of lattice frame. But we wanted to bring this inspiration into the future, into something that could only be 3D printed. So it's a very lightweight IP with a 3D printed kumiki-inspired texture that is very three-dimensional. And then we have this pattern echoed throughout the car. Yeah. So we have it on the glass roof and on the floor. And we wanted to have the contrast of the very clean body with some very intricate, detailed Japanese DNA. So we also have the kiriko, kind of glass cutting that is shown here, or on the tail lamps and the headlamps. And this, on the back of the headrest, you can see the printed leather indent influence.
Super cool. So, Gio, I think we have to escape from the model. And we want to thank everyone for this little experiment. And we invite you to come up, take a closer look, ask us questions, maybe try some of the VR, go to Miami, or go to the moon, whichever is better for you. And so thank you. Thank you for coming. And Tyson, I think Tyson, are you here? Tyson, thank you so much. Making all this possible. Tyson, Executive Design Director of Nissan brand. And the team is here, I think, also. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.